So I just wanted to say the first thing that I wanted to say is thank you so much for taking the time to come to Aaron's Opinion today and join me. It really takes a lot of courage to come to a podcast. And I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate it. Yeah, you're the second Italian person. I had an Italian person, a fellow podcaster here a couple years back. Anyway, I always like to start every episode the same and walk through a conversation from there. So, as I always say on my podcast, who is Giulia Cotelli?
Hi everyone, and yeah, you're very welcome. So thanks for having me. So yeah, I'm Italian. I'm 31. I live in Central Italy. I yeah, I don't know, could say anything. Basically, my background, I'm a psychologist, and I've been in personal development for now about 10 years. I've been studying life and business coach, um, yeah, remotely from the US. And yeah, and then I started launching my own business and like, yeah, a life coaching business. And I also started a listening service. And then, yeah, I kind of moved to other things. And now I'm working for a company. But anyway, my background and my um, let's say my life pathway revolves, of course, around yeah personal development, and I also love hypnotherapy. I've been practicing, um, yeah, that's for about 10 years also. So yeah, definitely personal development is my mission, I would say.
Why do you feel that personal development, life coaching, business coaching, how do you know that that is your life mission? I hope you're right. I know you're right, but what was the, as we say in English, what was the eureka moment where you said, basically the story goes that an apple hits you on the head from a tree and you say, wow, I gotta, you've heard the story. Wow, I just gotta do that. When did the apple hit you in the head and you knew that that's what you needed to do?
Well, the first thing I got into was hypnotherapy before starting, yeah, started studying psychology and life coaching. And I was still in high school, and I randomly found a book by Ken Kenneth, I think, if I'm not wrong. And it's called um, Using Self Hypnosis for Self Improvement, I think, stuff like that. So, and I started the following week, I was already writing suggestions for myself. And I was like, this is something that I definitely wanna try. And so I started practicing. And then after a few months, I was reading other books, to make it a bit shorter. And I kind of thought that I could use and anyone could use their body, their physical symptoms, or I don't know, illnesses or whatever your body can tell about us, to make yourself better. So basically, starting from our body to just go deeper into our mind and use our mind power to heal ourselves. And that's how I started practicing, um, yeah, on myself. And then I thought that not being a doctor, like a physician here in Italy, you cannot practice. I mean, you cannot have your hypnotherapy business. So I thought I would go into psychology because it was the closest thing I could actually get into. It wasn't really like that, because then what I what I studied was not what I expected it to be. But anyway, it was the closest thing, definitely. And yeah, I think that was the aha moment that you were talking about, like when I found out that it was really what I wanted to do, because then I got quite amazing results on myself. So I thought I would like anyone just to understand like who they are, starting from connecting their body and their mind into a therapy that is like comprehensive of everything, without also taking too many medical treatments. I mean, as long as they are not strictly necessary.
Right, right. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think it is definitely called for and definitely appropriate, given the stresses of our society and all of the different issues that we've been going through as a society, as a global community. The other thing that I want to learn from you about is, different people from different countries and different parts of the world sometimes have everybody has their own, perspective on being and their own understanding of our place in the universe. So, what do you think, Giulia? You're very interested in psychology. So, how do Italian people think? And what do many Italian people think about, their place in the universe? Basically, how would you, what, if you were to paint a picture in the listener's ear of the psyche of the majority of Italian people, what do you think about, the psychology of Italy as a nation?
I think Italians are quite straightforward, and anyway, they like challenges a lot. I mean, even in business, they are very they want to move forward. They want to look for uh, new chances, like explore um, like territories that have never been explored. So I think they are quite they're quite they're always looking for their like harnessing their talents to the fullest and looking for who they are, and they're kind of, and they're also very creative. They like to create new things, open up new possibilities. That's what I feel. Then of course anyone is different, and there are many people who just have a 9 to 5 job, and they just they have their routine, and they live a very flat life, as like anywhere else.
Right,
But
right.
yeah,
Sure, sure. No, a lot of people just sort of go about life. I mean, in America, in any country, I think, I think many people live life in a very, as you said, you had a good way of putting it, Julia, in a very flat. I would describe it as passive in a sense of, you're someone who's leading an active state of life. You're an active thinker. You're willing to come and talk on a podcast. You're willing to talk about your business. You're an active and successful person, an active thinker. But many people do not need to invest energy in thinking about the things that we think about, from hypnotherapy to psychology to these types of things. Most people in any society, in any country, just want the 9 to 5, would be more than happy with the 9 to 5. So
yeah.
yeah, really good, really good.
And also we have like very ancient history, and when a
I know.
country, I mean, all Europe does, but actually uh, these countries have like a lot of history, and this, I think that it kind of prompts us to be more aware about uh, the possibilities and the chances that we may have, because in the past there were a lot of great thinkers in any field that today and nowadays are not. I mean, I think they're not going to be such thinkers anymore. So in any field. So I think this is also very important, because we have a lot of history and art in our country, and there are a lot of artists. Also scientists. We have a lot of great scientists that are kind of working overseas, and but yeah, I guess history and culture has a lot of means a lot to our culture, and also then we value relationships a lot, and friendship and family, and really I, we like creating strong relationship. Yeah.
Good, good, and meaningful relationship.
Yeah.
Not a lot of fake,
Hmm.
things. Yeah, yeah, sure,
Perfectly right.
sure. A lot of, I mean, I have a lot of guests from all over the world, Julia, and one question that I always ask and always like to talk about is the fact that I'm so pleased that you went to university and you've done so well. That is, for a blind person, that's really good. For a blind person not living in the United States, that's really good. So something clearly motivated you to be educated and to go through the school system in Italy. So a lot of people in my audience would want to know. So what is it like for a blind child to go through schooling in modern Italian society? Other thing too, I forget if I asked you when we were talking on Messenger one way or the other, so I'm going to ask again because I forgot. But have you been blind your whole life? So why didn't you talk about the education system and your experiences with blindness if you want? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've been blind my whole life. So, um, but basically, for me, school and education, and starting from primary school, was quite a good experience. We don't have special schools right now anymore. I mean, we have some kind of schools that offer courses, trainings for the blind, but you cannot study there to get your like license or diploma, whatever. So you have you just go to ordinary schools. So you just live among sighted children. I mean, like any kind of
So the
children,
verb,
so
good. So the verb in English is mainstream. So you were main. So in Italy, they believe in mainstreaming blind children, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's already
mainstream,
all.
yeah,
That's already
sure.
good. That's already
Hmm.
really helpful to mainstream. And by no means am I. By the way, just to be transparent and to be fair as a content creator, certainly I'm not saying that we need to not have schools for the blind or special schools. By no means. We absolutely need to have those schools. But, my opinion, and this is an opinion show, is that I think, I've talked to many people about it, is I think that schools for the blind sometimes hold people back and do not always allow blind people to reach their fullest potential. Now, sometimes they do a great job. A lot of times they do great things, but there's some downsides. So I'm really pleased to hear that they believe in mainstreaming in Italy. That's really good. That's really good. And then,
Yeah, for
mm-hmm,
me,
mm-hmm.
school was it also a great teacher, I would say, because I learned the hard way. I learned the hard way how to, let's say, how to survive, like
Yeah.
among other people, especially like in kindergarten. But I was really, just a little child. Um, I haven't always had good experiences. Like with the teachers that I had. Especially there was an association like for an organization for the blind that was sending some sort of teachers, I would say, that it was a teacher actually who was following me and was supposed to help me during like my um, kindergarten like
Mm-hmm.
adventure, let's say. But yeah, actually, for me, it was a really bad experience at the time because I was really, yeah, I was just a little child. I was 2 years old, I think, when I got there. And yeah, she was this teacher. She was really rude. And then they were, yeah.
Well then, I just the audience is gonna love that because let me just tell you that as you know, someone who studied psychology, when you're only 2 years old, you don't remember things. So if
Oh,
someone if it
I do
so
remember a lot about that time,
and
unfortunately.
actually in a greater sense I have some memories too, but the humor, the ironic humor is for a 2-year-old to remember that someone was rude. They must have been really rude if you still remember that today.
Yeah, she was kind of yelling at me all the time, and and I was a really, I
Oh.
mean, I was very shy, so I was like, that the children who just always are always messing around, and like you can get impatient in the end. I was kind of very shy, and she was
Mhm.
kind of yelling at me all the time. And then they did this thing that I hope that they're not doing it anymore. And this is something I usually don't talk about
Okay.
because it's really, yeah, something very emotional for me. But she, yeah, that was that her organization that did that. But actually, she was the person who was in charge for me. So um, they did these things to understand if a blind person could was able to see colors. And so they had this kind of cardboard with holes, and then there was this papers. They put this little, like the papers you used to like project images, that they were different colors, and then they project the colors with a lamp, and I was supposed to look at them, and I had to tell the colors, and they were kind of doing this every day, like for I don't know, a couple of hours. And
What?
I remember this teacher who was always yelling at me because I can't see colors, so I always got them wrong. And I remember that I was always really scared, like
Yeah.
when I used to get home, because I was afraid that then my kind of my mom or my family then wouldn't want me anymore if I just got the colors wrong. And I remember like I didn't want to go there anymore. And yeah,
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you shared that. That is you really, wow, whew, you really painted the picture. That would have truly disturbed me as a child. I'll tell you a story from my childhood. I was 10 years old, a 10-year-old little boy, and I was in a classroom. I was in a classroom, Julia, with a teacher, with a sighted teacher who, in my opinion, did not believe in blindness. And I'm sure you've encountered this type of thing in Italy too, where like you know when sighted people don't believe in blindness, as ironic as that is, they're kind of a blindness denier, basically.
hmm,
Yeah, yeah. I wish that I could tell you. I don't think you have those in Italy, but I'm pretty sure you do. So, I
sometimes,
had.
yeah, I never met the person like in school, but there are. I
I'm
mean,
glad you've been through enough, but my point is that I had this real character of a teacher, let's just say, and she was a blindness denier,
mhm.
and I couldn't. There was some storyline where like I wanted to sit closer, so like I could see the board, and then they wouldn't let me sit closer because they said that I can see it, and then something where like I said, well, I really can't see it because I'm blind, and then they said something like, well, just try harder to see, you know.
Mhm.
And then I remember as a little boy, because I was 10, I have a better memory of it. That I went home and told my parents, and there was a lot more information that I can give you off air that would present more of what was going on at that particular time. But I told them about that, and my mother was very very enraged, and she complained, and then they called me a liar. So they said that's not true, and
Mm.
that type of thing. So, but for you to come here and tell me that they did that color thing and that you were afraid that your parents wouldn't want you just because of a color, I mean that's an example of trauma. That's not teaching, that's traumatizing a child. I mean that's disgraceful. That is absolutely disgraceful. I'm sure
Yeah,
things like that happen in the states, but that's not teaching you. That was traumatizing you. That's wholly inappropriate, obviously. I mean, so what did you ever start to like complain to your mother and say, "Well, mom, they keep showing me these colors and it makes me uncomfortable. When you were 5 or 6 and started to get more language skills in Italian, did you start to speak up more?
Yeah, actually, when I was 5 or 6, I guess this wasn't happening anymore because, well, of course, I had then issues with my classmates because, yeah, for a lot of reasons, they don't always, of course, they were little children as well, so they didn't really understand what I was going through and what blindness is. So, but actually, this kind of things, no, were not happening anymore at the time. So when I was like 2 or 3, I remember I I didn't speak up. I remember there were days that I was kind of really sad, and I just didn't speak like all day, or I was, yeah, sometimes I was just crying with no like apparent reason. And of course, my parents just didn't know what was going on inside me because I was really too little to, yeah, to
To
speak up for
fully,
myself.
sure, 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 sure. But I mean, at the time, looking back on it, Julia, do you think your parents privately, secretly knew what was going on, or did you have to wait until you were older to fully explain to them what happened?
I think that they knew about this color thing. That, of course, that was not the only thing that was happening there, but I think they knew, but they also like they trusted, the organization for the blind, the
Yeah.
association for the blind. So they trusted that they were, my mom, she was like inexperienced, that she was really also, I guess, angry for having this blind child to raise, and she didn't know what to do and how. So she just turned to this. It is the biggest organization for the blind that we have in Italy. So they did their best with what they had. So sometimes she was kind of angry at this teacher that I had because she sensed that she was rude.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but then they told they told her, like, if you're not comfortable, because this teacher also, like, if it wasn't enough, she also used to come at home in the afternoon.
Oh, Julia. So, Julia, no, 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 no. No, this is. So the answer is you were traumatized as a child. Oh, Julia. Oh boy, I'm really, you know what? I am so appreciative. I know I use that word a lot, but because I mean it, I am so appreciative that you're taking the time to courageously share this because these types of things are happening to children all over the world and people
Yes,
do need
yeah,
to know about this. So the same teacher who would yell at you at the school about the colors as a child would come back to your house later
yeah.
that day.
She used to come back yelling at me at my house.
And okay, so now I have to ask a pretty relatively inappropriate question, but so why did your parents allow this? Like, I mean, it's an opinion show. I can be a bit blunt when I need to. I feel like I need to really dig into this. So why did your parents allow this abusive, tormenting teacher to come to your home and torment you after school? I mean, that's
I think, that the organization was sending her because they thought that in order to, as a blind child, in order to go to primary school, I would need some like extra training because otherwise I wouldn't be able to learn Braille and to learn, yeah, basically to draw and to read and write. So that was the idea behind this. And then, of course, my mom didn't like this teacher, but then she talked to the director, like, let's say, of the organization, and she said, like, if you're not comfortable being there while the teacher is there, you can go out, you can just go out with your husband and leave the child with the teacher. So
what,
that what she used to do
I,
for
what?
sometimes.
Oh my God! No, 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 no. I mean, let me take a sip of coffee. Of course. Oh, coffee is part of the podcast, so obviously.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm, mm. Oh, I love my coffee. So I mean, I know it sounds like. By the way, I know it sounds like I'm judging you, but I'm simply trying to help you to educate the world about this. In my opinion, that was highly inappropriate. That parents would be told to get out of their home and allow an abusive teacher to come and work with their child. First of all, I mean, the whole thing is wholly inappropriate. In the states, in America, a child would never ever be left alone with a teacher, ever, 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 um, unless they're at some public event or unless the child is significantly older. Um,
Hmm.
but certainly, I mean, you wouldn't tell parents, get out of your home so I can work with you. Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah, that's right. What I'd like
I mean,
to,
do you, I mean, do you, I mean, do you, I mean, now looking back, do you see, like, do you see how, I mean, I guess there's a part of you that understands that your parents were trying to work with this organization, but do you also see now, looking back, gee, that was really inappropriate? Do you see how inappropriate that is now
Mhm.
looking back?
Yeah, sure. And what I would like to point out is
For sure.
that, um, yeah, we should be really careful with children, because what happens in the like first 2 or 3 years of your life, it's definitely gonna mark you forever. Though then, of course, you can work on that. You can get over that, because this kind of things like make you, I don't know. Now I've taken this example of the color game, let's call it like that, but there
It
would
was a
be like
really good it was
a
a
lot.
really good example.
Yeah, I think that this is the most significant and clear, just to understand also for the audience, but there were many more. And I think that this kind of things make you feel, I don't know to say that, but I have to put it, but they make you feel wrong. Like they make you feel like you're not, like you shouldn't be where you are. You know, you shouldn't just, you don't fit in there. So this is something I've been working on, like still now I'm still working on that. But most of the time, sometimes I still feel like I just, I don't fit into myself. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just, when I talk about it with people, I say like I was a guest in my own body. Like I said, I don't want to be with this person anymore. And then I just realize, okay, that this person is me. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I really relate. I really relate to. I really relate to you. I really relate to what you're saying. I think probably a lot of things have happened to me that have made me question that type of thing. You know, why me? Basically, as we say in English, why me? Why do I have to be blind? Right? What's the point? What's the
yeah,
point in that?
it gets to the core of yourself. Like you
It
don't
really
even ask you
does.
why I have to be blind. You say just why do I have to be myself? You know, it's just something that
Yeah,
it really
yeah,
gets to the core of who you are.
of your being. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have an American author by the name of Samuel Clemens. Surely you know of him as Mark Twain. And he said that there
Oh
are
yeah.
only, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. He said many very obnoxious things about society, all of which were true, but they were still obnoxious. But he said one thing that is very true and wise, which is that there are only 2 days in your life, Julia, that are important: the day you were born and the day you know why. And that is why we are blind, because we have a mission. It's our mission in life, in my opinion, to find out why I am blind, right? To find out why. And that is the beauty of life, to find out why. There is a purpose. There is a purpose for me being blind, right? If and think about it this way.
Hmm.
If we were sighted people, would we have joined that Facebook group? Would we be would either one of us be talking to each other right now if we were sighted?
Sure. I think of course being blind, it's not who we are, it's just part of who we
Of
are.
course, of
But
course.
of course, yes, it comes in determining the purpose of, um, I don't know what, I think any of us then has
Hmm.
different reason why they're blind, or why they are American or Italian, or I don't know, whatever they are. And then it all comes together and just shapes your identity. But if you have like a safe place, like in the first 2 or 3 years of your life, where you just can be you just feel that you are accepted and you can be yourself, that there's nobody like judging you, you have no big challenges to face, I think then you can grow up like self-confident, and you don't have this sense like of loss that you just stay inside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think you've done really well. I think you've made up for it, although um, you still are recovering from the trauma. In my opinion, you are overcoming very well. You're doing a magnificent job. So, given all that has happened, and more focusing on your work and the actual, coaching that you hope to do, do you mostly work with blind children and blind people, or will you work with anyone?
No, no, I do work with anyone. I've never addressed like the blind community in particular because my I studied life coaching, so how my niche was like helping people to find out who you are and to express that then in real life. So what we're saying now actually, yeah. So we all have like something inside that we have to to show to the outside world, so and in order to become who we really are. So that was my idea to build a coaching business around that, basically.
Right,
So
right, right. So, as we say, philosophically, first impressions are everything, and first impressions are usually right. This is a really weird question, but I know you're going to give a great answer. So, who am I? How do I come across to you? I don't think I've ever asked a guest this, but what is your perception of me as a person?
what actually drove me towards you at the beginning, it was your job, because I wanted to know more about it, so that's why I just tackled into you at the beginning, if you remember.
I do. I'm trying not to. Obviously, I'm not going to say what the group was on air. Obviously, I'm trying not to make it too big of it. See, you approached that in a very endearing way. You actually admitted that. See, you have a lot of confidence, Julia. You admitted that you actually came to me first.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I would have to wonder. I mean, I'm still touched. I'm still touched by your story, and I still care, obviously. But I mean, there's no way for this question not to be creepy. So I'm going to ask a really creepy question. But like other women, don't come up to me very much at all on social media, on any group or forum, regardless. So what pushed? I mean, of course I'm glad you reached out to me, but what pushed you over the edge to reach out to me? What because it takes a lot of confidence to do that, to like walk up to some stranger, not to mention some man that you've never heard of before. What pushed you over the edge to contact me?
Well, that's actually, yeah, I've already answered that. I mean, the fact that, yeah, I wanted to know more about your job was what pushed me to come up to you. Then about the way I see you, I mean, what what struck me was like your that you love languages, you love foreign languages a lot, and then I think it's something that we have in common. For me, words are really, really very important, like even the way they're pronounced, the way they sound, the way they look, because sometimes I just can't, I get like mental pictures of words. Okay, this is just something that it's a little hard to explain, but anyway, I like, yeah, your passion for languages, and yeah, your job, I mean, teaching languages is something that I've been also doing for some time, so I think we can relate
Yeah.
about this.
Definitely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So good. So good. So, yeah, what do you want to know about teaching, teaching English? What do you want to know about that? I'm really open to it. What do you want to know?
I don't know. I wanted to know more about your. No, I don't know. I don't know what you want to share here, actually,
Sure.
but
Well, let me tell you that. So I got into teaching because I studied international affairs in university, and I wasn't able to get a job in the public sector for many different reasons. One of them, in my opinion, was my blindness, but there were several other factors that were equally hovering around. And I'm someone, Giulia, who loves to talk. I just want to get behind a microphone and talk, talk, talk all day. So then I figured out that a lot of people are online learning English, and then I came across a company, um, that teaches English, and then I applied, and it's really truly become a perfect thing. I'll tell you, I forget if I mentioned it or not, but I got into podcasting because I was listening to podcasts in the blindness community and felt that they just were not open enough to guests and were not open enough to everyone's opinion. And I want Aaron's opinion to be a place where you, Giulia, and other people from all over the world can come and share these meaningful stories, these serious, meaningful, and informed stories from our life experiences. And that's truly my goal here on Aaron's Opinion. So, yeah, I mean, that's really how I got into it. And then I just kept practicing. It's an art form. So just, I figured out, oh, this can turn into a YouTube channel. Oh, this can be on Spotify. Oh, next thing you know,
Sure. Yeah.
next thing you know, I have Italian people coming up to me on social media. So it must have worked, right? If you have an Italian
Yeah.
if you have an
Indeed.
if you have an Italian named Giulia contacting you on social media, it worked, right? It must
Yeah.
have. So that's really my goal, and I have found, quite frankly, Giulia, that I think the world needs to hear your story, my story, our stories. I really think that this podcast and many other great ones, by the way, there are many great blind podcasters around the world that I celebrate. I really want all of us blind podcasters to do more podcasting and to keep sharing these important stories. Do you listen, Giulia? Do you follow any Italian podcasts? In other words, any podcasters that are strictly podcasting in Italian? What do you think?
No, the only podcaster that I was following was because I'm trying to learn Spanish, so we're going back to languages, and
Sure.
there are a few Spanish podcasts that I was following. But then basically what I do is just I prefer, it's not that I prefer, but I'm more comfortable like on YouTube because I don't know, there are many different videos and they are not too long, so it's kind of you break it into little chunks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
usually, yeah, but the only podcasts that I followed were those, yeah, for learning Spanish, I think, as far as I remember.
Um, Yeah, I remember I spoke with a great friend of ours here on Aaron's Opinion, a man by the name of Matthias. But oh, he's gonna give me a hard time. I actually forget what his podcast is called. I'm so sorry, Matthias, my friend. Um, oh gosh. Well, anyway, he's an Italian guy who has a podcast, but he podcasts in English and and Italian about disability issues and different things like that. Oh, he's going to give me a hard time. I'll later. I'll have to. If you want to know about that later on, let me know. I will. I will definitely try to get that
Yeah,
podcast for you.
sure.
Yeah, he really does a lot. Um, gosh. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's an important thing to remember that really the majority of the podcasts are in English, or the global ones are anyway. I'm sure there are Italian podcasts, but
Yeah,
obviously
I
I
guess
don't know
there
what their
are.
names are.
Hmm.
So yeah, probably. That's really really good. So where do you see your business taking you within the next 10 years? What do you think looking into the future?
Well, I would love to have like my own office where I can, ideally, this is my like ideal world. I would like to have an office like where I can, um, yeah, where I can have my clients, and I would like to work mainly individually because I wouldn't be ready at the moment, I think, to do like a group session. But I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
just in 10 years, I don't know, maybe I would be ready for that as
Well,
well.
who knows? Who knows?
And those, and I would like to work, yeah, mainly with coaching, but also with hypnotherapy. And
Hmm.
then there is a kind of, also lucid dreaming is something that I really I would really love to learn more about. Is this thing that you can, like when you're dreaming at night, or you can just tackle into the dream and kind of start controlling the dream. So Okay, this is
Yeah.
not a therapy thing. This is it's like a more,
It's
I don't know
interesting.
how to put it,
It's
but
very interesting indeed.
yeah, this is
Yes.
something that I would really love to go into. But anyway, it's just coming back to the business. Um, yeah, I would like to have an office where I can practice with my clients like these things. And also another thing that I like a lot is cuddle therapy. It's something that in the US, I know that there are many people who do this cuddling, professional cuddling. And I think that this would be also very related to coaching, because coaching is something that is very mental. I mean, it can be also emotional, but it just come to, developing a plan. Of course, your emotions are also just considered, but you have to take action. Every week or every 2 weeks when we meet, I have to be sure that our action plan is working and that you're working on your goals and whatever. So this cuddling thing, I think, would be very like complementary and helpful, because this is instead is just working on the body, the way you want to touch and want to be touched. And so also
You know what's
focuses a lot on
really
the breathing.
you know what's really cool about that actually, and I mentioned Matthias. Oh, I can't remember what his thing is. I'm gonna later. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna go to his page, look it up, and be like, oh, that Eureka, that bingo, that's what it's called. I remember that I was talking to Matthias a lot about that, about this whole thing with when you grow up in the United States, you're trained from a very, very small age to not allow yourself to be touched.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very serious concept for Americans, that Americans are not okay with the kissing and the hugging that we see in Italy and France. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I'm okay with it because I've been to France. I've met a lot of European people who do more touching and stand closer to the person, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's very, very interesting. Oftentimes, you do, in my opinion, you do need to be careful from a therapeutic, philosophically, because what touching is to you as an Italian is not the same thing that touching would be to an American. Sometimes a touch can also be perceived in America as aggression, as anger or aggression.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, sure. This,
you know,
because it's in a therapeutic context, of course,
right.
context is different. It's different. But yeah, in everyday life, I would be very careful, because I know that
No, I
cultures
know.
are a lot different. So
Yeah, yeah. But
also,
I also agree with you. I think we all need appropriate appropriate touching, appropriate therapy in our lives. I think that because of the pandemic, I think that we have lost a lot of that social behavior, that touching, the social interaction with others. So it is important, indeed, indeed. Yeah, yeah. You just have to be cognizant of it though when you're around, other, like, I mean, I'm an American guy, Julia, but I see myself as kind of a global person. I've spent a lot of time in France, so
yeah,
I
I know. Yeah.
there's no there's no way for this not to sound a little bit creepy. I don't mind touching, but other other Americans are trained to
Mm-hmm.
perceive it
Yeah.
as anger or aggression. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a really weird. It's really weird. It's just every culture perceives that differently.
Yeah,
But
have
you're
their own
right.
limits and boundaries. So you have to be
Yeah. But
just be aware of
Americans have the most, the I guess I would say that American people have the highest number of boundaries when it comes to everything. What you're allowed to
that.
say, how close you're allowed to stand, what you're there's Americans are weird about that. So yeah, yeah, that's really good. I do think that one-on-one is a lot better. I mean, I do better one-on-one just education wise, talking to people. If I get into a big crowded group of people, I mean, I admit it's really hard for me to focus, and I would, you know let's imagine a hypothetical scenario, an imaginary situation where we meet up like in a public place with some of my friends, some of your friends, and we're in a loud restaurant. You would notice that it would be a lot hard, really hard for you to talk to me. I would be having a hard time following the conversation. Whereas in a
Yeah, of
quiet
course you
public
have to
place,
focus a lot. Yeah,
you
when
know,
you're in a
it
crowded
would
place.
be it would be much easier for
Hmm.
me, a more one-on-one type of place, you know. But that's just me. I don't know. Do you think you'll always do better one-on-one, or what do you think?
Well, the group in a therapeutic context, the group
Right.
can have a huge healing power for
Mm-hmm.
every group member. So I guess that of course then it's a small group. It's not like you're in a restaurant with 100 people. It's like, I don't know, like 10, 15, and yeah, I would say like 10 people. It would be a group. It can even be less, but I would say maximum of 10 people. So it's not that crowded, you know. It's just that professionally and emotionally, you have to be trained to absorb a lot more and to um, yeah, like to find the balance between like among the members, and you have to focus a lot more and be very alert and prepared to whatever may come out. So I wouldn't start with a group, but
Mm-hmm.
this can be extremely powerful. That's what I've been told, and what is the experience of the experts in the field. So
Sure, 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 sure. So, have you networked and spoken with other blind therapists around Italy?
no, I found, yeah, in one of those groups, Facebook groups that we have that you were saying before, I had found a therapist. I don't know where she was from,
Well,
if
is
she
it the
was
one?
American or
Okay, but is it
English.
the one where I met you in? Is it the one that we're both in?
No, maybe it's the other one. It's the pen pals group, I think.
Yeah, I'm
I don't
not in
know.
that one. I'm not
I
in
don't
that
know.
one.
I can't remember. I remember. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I found, and she's quite old. I mean, she's a lot older than me. I just wanted to, yeah, to get in touch with her, but then I think I didn't for some reason. But no, I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I'm not in touch with therapists. But there are a lot of massage therapists, blind
Right.
therapists here. I don't know if in the US it's like this, but in Italy there are a lot of
It's still a
blind
thing.
massage
Sure.
therapists.
Sure, it's still a thing. Yeah. It used to be very common because in the States, blind people were not, a long time ago, were not really able to go to university properly. So they had to learn a trade.
Mhm.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you want to do that, that's
No, no,
great.
of
You know?
course. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
great. I
fine.
would like to do that as well because I like touching, as I said. So I'd like giving massage.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Oh,
just
you
give
do?
massage to
Oh, you
friends.
oh, you
I'm not trained, but I like a lot. I like
Yeah,
giving
I'm gonna
massage.
put you. No, seriously, I'm gonna put you in touch with. Definitely, you need to talk to Matthias. I'm gonna tell you about him later. Because he actually studied. Um, he studied deep tissue therapy. Actually, I remember it. I remember exactly what we talked about. I just don't remember his podcast. But no, he can tell you all about massage therapy. He is actually Matthias is actually someone who is he's sighted, but he had a lot of experiences working with blind people. You should, yeah, I will show you that
Okay,
person.
yeah.
That would be a
Okay.
really good person to network with and speak to. He's Italian,
Hmm.
and he specifically studied deep tissue therapy. So. And we talked about the touching too on that episode too. Why is it with every Italian guest we have to talk about touching?
I don't know.
Every time it's like thing. It's like okay, we already have the coffee. Okay, I'm holding up the coffee cup. Okay, okay. Oh, yes, we take a sip of coffee. Okay, next let's talk about touching. I see. By the way, I love to joke
Yeah,
around
we
and
touch on a lot of things, like from trauma to childhood to touching. So
which
this is really fun. I didn't expect to be this fun. So
you know what? Quite frankly, I I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that I'm so appreciative that you came, that we're talking now and being able to have a real conversation. On a personal level, for me, it's really it really means a lot to me. So thank you, and I think our audience will really get a kick out of this. But yeah,
I
yeah,
hope.
I didn't expect you to tell that serious story about the colors, and I just, I mean, I know I'm harping on it, but I really appreciate it because these are the stories that parents need to be hearing so that when they send their children to schools, they know that that's not okay now and
Mhm.
that we need to do a lot together,
Yeah.
me and you, and other guests from all the other guests too around the world. We need to start doing a lot to educating the world about this. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
welcome. I think this is the first time I actually do share this with an audience. So I
Wow.
don't even share it with my friends usually. So I don't know
Wow.
how it happened, but it
Well
did.
I'm glad I'm glad you're my friend then. I really look up to that. That's really good. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. But of course, I'm sure that and oh yeah, we really touched a lot. I'm sure that you have a lot of questions for me. In fact, I know that you have questions for me, being that you studied psychology. So, in our remaining time on this recording, and of course we can talk as much as you like after or on later days, of course, but on the recording, what are some questions that you really want to know about me? What do you really want to know? If you really can dig under my skin and really know me, what do you really want to know about me?
I don't know. I would like to know a little bit more about your teaching. I don't know if you
Sure.
want to touch on that.
Sure, we can touch on the teaching. Sure. So
This is
most
this is stronger than me. I'll just touch on
this
anything.
that's fine. That's fine. It's part of the Italian flavor. It's part of the material. Um, so sure, Julia. My teaching is I work for a company, the company that you said over Messenger.
Yeah, yeah.
I try not to say it too much on the air. I keep the work
No, of
separate from the
course.
hobby, all of that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's no big deal either way. But so I've been working for Company X for 6.5 years, and they've been really supportive. Um, most of my students are from the Middle East, and most of them come online, and it's basically a video call like this, and then
Yeah.
we go over things in English that they need to work on. Most of them just want a conversation, but the thing is, being a teacher, you talk to people all day,
Yeah.
so I think that has really prepared me
Hmm.
for having these global conversations and continuing to use my podcasting, my love for podcasting as a tool to really educate other people. So I really hope that that these two things are definitely related. Education, podcasting, it definitely goes together because you have to actively listen and you have to want to teach other people. I genuinely I would tell you the same thing off air because it's true. I genuinely want to help you. And I genuinely want to know at the end of the day that I allowed Giulia to come and share her serious story and that it truly helps someone else.
Hmm.
Like we say
Sure.
here on my podcast, help one person today, help a million people tomorrow. If you can only help one other Italian family, you know what? Take this episode when it airs out, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But anyway, when you do get the episode, take it around to some Italian families with children with disabilities and say, well, this is an English
Hmm.
episode, but
Sure.
still, this is content that people in Italy need to know about this. I have to ask. I suspect I know what the answer is, but did you ever, now that you're an adult, did you ever write a letter to this organization for blind people in Italy saying, that the way I was treated as a child. And I guess, did you ever complain in writing or document this inappropriate behavior?
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, yeah. I figured not, but that's understandable nowadays. But that is all really, really, really fascinating. What are some other questions you have for me? I really want you to dig under my skin into the spirituality, the psychology. I'm really hoping you can ask a really deep question.
I don't know. Yeah, we can just go back to teaching like privately another day. So about, I don't know, you said that you love traveling. So what would be your recommendations for a blind traveler? I mean, what
Oh,
advice
that's a
would you
great
give?
one. I think, if you're a blind traveler who only speaks English, of course, I'm a French speaker, so I can go to France and part of Italy too. But for most blind people in the States that don't really speak English, well, most people in the States who only speak English, I meant,
Hmm.
I would say you should go to a Western European country that has the right values and the right views about people with disabilities and really does the right thing for blind people. Places like England, Italy, Germany, Amsterdam,
Mhm.
places like that. So yeah, definitely. Hmm.
And what are the things you have to pay attention when you travel?
Well, I think as a blind person, it's always good to travel in a group. Um, there's an organization that I can tell you more about later, but it's an organization where they basically arrange group tours for people who are blind, and half of the tour is sighted people, the other half are blind people. So
Yeah,
that
I
would
see.
be those types of trips are really good. I think when it's very organized and you're in a big group of people, I think that is fine like that. So, and where have you traveled to outside of Italy, by the way?
Well, only in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, Germany, Belgium, Spain, um, Greece, Austria.
Right. Sure. Sure.
But
Sure. Sure.
actually, yeah, I would like now to start like traveling alone. I mean, not traveling alone just to visit a country because it's quite, I think being blind, if you just travel alone, you don't get to really understand that like the country you're in because you cannot enjoy like
Mm.
the sights or stuff like that. But I would like to travel alone more like to
Mm-hmm.
visit someone, for example, or I don't know if I have to do something, for example, for work. Um, if I have a specific goal in mind, I would say, okay, I would just travel. I mean, not the the whole world, but
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to travel more. And I'm kind of lazy with that sometimes because I have a friend who travels a lot. My best friend, she travels a lot,
Yeah.
and she always tells me that there are a lot of issues. Whether you have to find like I don't know, a cheap flight or whatever, then the flights are canceled, and then now there is this COVID thing as well. So it can be really frustrating, and then being blind, it can be even more frustrating
Mm-hmm.
because like it's a flight. If a flight is canceled, then you have to, I don't know, like to book a hotel or whatever. It can be harder if you're in a place that you don't know. So I think this kind of holds me back some time, but
Hmm.
I would like to, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll share with you more. I have several ideas for you. I'll tell you off air. But basically, as I always like to say, we just have a couple minutes left, and I would like to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for joining me today on this evening for you in Italy, a Wednesday afternoon for me. Really appreciate you taking the time to educate the world about your life story, and that it will truly be medicinal and helpful to many, many people around the world, God willing, I hope. But I always like to say, if you can ask me only one more question to really make me sweat, to see if I'm really worth my salt as a podcaster, what do you want to know?
Um, what is the most important thing for you in life? Like, what is the thing that you would never give up for any reason? I mean, it can be like a thing, but also, I don't know, an idea or a person, whatever.
I would never give up. That is a brilliant way to end the episode. I would never give up my job because I love teaching. I would never give up podcasting because I love podcasting. And I also, by the way, love cats and I love animals. I'm a huge
Oh.
animal person. I would never give up my love and kindness. So I guess what it comes down to is I would never give up the kindness that I have for people of the world, education, podcasting, and animals. Those are things I love and will never give up. That was a really good, Julia. That was a really good question. Any final
Yeah.
words? Any final parting words that any last statements you want to make?
I don't know. Just thanks for having me, and thanks to all your listeners. And I don't know, hope all of you can enjoy this episode and in general enjoy life to the fullest because you only live once. So I guess. I hope you really enjoy whatever is coming to you.
That's a perfect way to end. Perfect. Thanks so much, everybody. Stay safe out there. I really enjoyed that episode. That could not have started better. It couldn't have gone better. And that could not have ended better. That is a magnificent, magnificent way to end. Thanks so much, everybody from around the world. I usually say it in the outro, but I'll say it right here just for fun. Thanks so much, everybody. Stay safe out there. And as we say here at Aaron's Opinion, help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow.